Hi, how's it going? Hope it doesn't rain. It's going to be walking to the shop now. Look at those clouds. It's crazy. Got caught in the rain when I got out the bus early on. So let's see how it goes. So I wanted to make a quick video because I haven't made a video in a while, just about my trip to Harare, trip with some of the guys from church. We did an outreach. Kind of just want to chat about it a bit, see how much light we have. Yeah, it was really cool. It's my first time out into another African country. I'd been out the country for work once to Dubai, which was rad. But going to another African country, it's quite a different experience because having stuff that's so similar to South Africa, yet so different. It's like kind of like a parallel universe. Cars that look close to our cars, but just like a tad different. So yeah, when we landed there, it was super rad. We were welcomed by the guys from Josh Harare, with each of our names on the pieces of paper. It was very, very cool. I'd seen that in movies before, but I hadn't had it myself. So it was quite rad. The first 2 nights we stayed in it's like this huge piece of land, owned by this Catholic guy. It was quite cool. There were these rondavels, and it was quite luxurious, which was quite a nice soft landing in the country, and soft landing into the culture. Not too much of a culture shock. Yeah, so the first 2 nights were rad. Cool places to sleep. So day 1 we went out to Eastville, which was a township community, poorer community in Harare. And yeah, we went to go love on people that were that hadn't been to church in a while, or that were hurt by church and so on. Yeah, so firstly we went to the first house we went to had this young guy named Pennsylvania, Pencil for short, and he was an artist, coincidentally, with a name like Pencil. And yeah, it's some good artwork. It seemed like it was pastel artwork, which was quite nice. Guys might hear the cars coming past now. I'm walking near a main road, just excuse the noise. Yeah, which is the other thing about Eastville, was that it seemed like seeing white people was a strange thing, and we were quite an attraction. So we went just into random houses from there and just visited random people, which was quite cool. It's quite an experience. The one house had this chicken coop where they're laying, just eggs are being pumped out by these chickens, which was quite cool. And just walking just down the street saying how's it to people and so on. It was quite cool, quite a rad experience. The thing about Eastville was the roads were townshipy roads, so there was dirt roads, gravel roads, but they weren't flat. It was like driving over these huge hills, and that was quite a good experience first time. Later that evening there was leaders training, and it was quite cool having the opportunity to minister to leaders within Josh Gen, and there was another church in the training too, the guys at Ambassadors of Grace. But it was so cool having the opportunity to minister prophetically by giving words of wisdoms or prophetic pictures to them. It was really cool. I had the chance every week to do that at my church, but anyway, so it was quite cool. Quite a rad experience. Day 2 we had this couples training for the guys at Ambassadors of Grace. They had 3 different pastors, 3 different preachers, and the 3rd preacher was one of the elders from our church here in Wynberg. And yeah, it went fairly well. It was quite cool seeing the different cultures and the different ways churches are led. Very, very African. After that we went to a social, which was at one of the host's sister's house. and they did some worship for us. Then the next day, the kids had taken us for a walk around Norton, which was quite a cool experience. We did I'd say about a 3 or almost another 3k walk, which was quite cool. Yeah, it was nice seeing these buildings with hand-painted signage with like professional names like J&V accountants right next to something like a barber, and then just like a little shop. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it was super cool. Yeah, so that was quite cool. The third day, we did a tour of Borrowdale, the wealthier area in Harare, which was quite a nice experience. If I remember correctly, it's where the president stayed for a while. And that area was covered in military guys on each corner of the block, which was his property. It was basically a whole block dedicated to his house. We were told that people weren't even allowed to drive in that area at one point, which was a scary thing to hear. You had to be of a certain class to drive there. Yeah, then later the day after the tour, we did some street evangelism. But before we went out, we did a little prayer session before. And after the prayer session, Ross had God gave him the name Barry, which was quite crazy, which you'll hear now. Yeah, so we'd split up for some street evangelism, and I'd gone with Ross. So, and we'd split up, and one group was going one direction, Ross and I went up the main road. So anyway, we were carrying on up the road and just saying hi to random people, just telling them where we're from and inviting them to come to church the next morning. Yeah, so it was super cool. After we had invited some people and did some evangelism, Ross and I went to a coffee shop at the end of the road, and we were sitting there for a while. We ended up meeting up with the other guys, and they had done for the day also, and they were on their way to come and meet up with us at this coffee shop or this restaurant place. And Martin, the deacon at Josh and Harare, when walking past the house, was like, "No, there's something about this house. We need to go. We can't just leave this house." So Martin quickly rang the bell, and then pushed Lee towards the intercom, because they might not want to listen because Martin's talking, and they wanted to hear a white person or whatever. So anyway, yeah, came to the gates, whatever, and started chatting. Lee invited them. This guy was invited to the church, and yeah, and as they're leaving, they asked, "Sorry, I forgot your name," and he said, "My name's Barry." And it was just a cool moment. Very big faith build for us. Then the next day, we had church, but on the way to church, we stopped off at the Pick and Pay there. They have a Pick and Pay also, it's quite cool. We stopped off there and found out we had a flat tire. So Robert and myself decided we'd walk from there to the church. It was only a 3.2k walk, so it wasn't too far. Just super cool. Rad walk. And at church, so the Harare congregation meets in a school, just like Weinberg, Josh Jen. But the crazy thing about this is that there are 3 churches that meet at the same school. So it's quite disorienting. Like for me, I got there and I was like, cool, I hear this worship coming out of the main school hall and I'm getting so amped. And then later to find out that's one of the other churches, and we're just meeting inside one of the classrooms. Just before the service started, I met Barry, and I had to go I ran up to the guy. I was like, just almost as like a confirmation. The skeptical side of me was like, nah, I need proof. So I ran to meet the guy. I was like, I hear your name's Barry. I was like, how's it going, man? This is the craziest story. And yeah, it was just a kind of needed proof. Anyway, the next 2 days were quite relaxed. We went to a game park where I saw a giraffe for the first time and some eland and some other animals, which was pretty cool. So then the last 3 nights we stayed at a lady named Patience's house. We stayed in one of the empty rooms there, and which was quite a crazy experience. One of the nights, besides us fighting cockroaches, we had a little rodent visit us. The rodent had eaten my oats so easy, my instant oats. Yeah, so I took it out of my bag, I put it in the kitchen, put it on the cupboard. It seems like the rat didn't know how to climb. Then on the last night, we got back from the tour of the game park or whatever happened that day, and I opened up my bag to get my PJs out so I can get changed and get to bed. And as I opened it, this little flippin' rodent jumped out, hit my hand, and then ran across the floor. The other guy saw it. I just felt it. I didn't see the thing. But I looked at my bag. There were no holes in it. There were no openings. So that mouse must have been in there the whole day. which is a crazy thought. So, poor thing. No, not poor thing. It scared the living daylights out of me. So some crazy things happened in Harare. So firstly, I drove for the first time in Harare, and it was a automatic. Yeah, so other crazy things. But there aren't any beggars. I didn't see any beggars at all there, and it seemed to be a thing that only, yeah, doesn't seem like it's a thing they have there. But they do have these guys who fix potholes. But let me just tell you something. The roads there are appalling. There are potholes everywhere. The speed bumps also are super high, super tall, and almost every speed bump we went over, the bottom of the car scraped. Oh man, it's now given me a newfound fear of speed bumps. Anyway, yeah, so these guys, what they do is when they see people in fairly nice cars or they see tourists, what they do is they'd fill up these holes with bricks and sand, and then they'd hold their hands out saying, look, I fixed the road, can you give me some money? It's quite interesting. Then I was like, oh, that's quite cool, it's admirable of them. Then I asked Neville, is that a common thing? And they're like, yeah, that's a common thing. But he says, before you think they're nice, look back. And as I looked back, I saw them emptying out the pothole again to trick the next bunch of people. But Neville did say that they do actually repair the holes. They won't make them empty again if they get paid. So the one night we drove past, where I drove an automatic for the first time and drove in Harare for the first time, we drove past that very pothole and it was filled up. So it seemed like they obviously got paid for that job. Yeah, so there's some crazy things in Harare. I'm probably forgetting something, but this is to anybody part of the Josh Gen churches. There's something I was encouraged by was the heart of hospitality. Man, heard a preach of it from Hiker Jones at one point. Super cool. Just kind of stirred the pot a little bit, which has made my thoughts on hospitality change quite a bit. So I'm definitely going to host, whenever we have like a conference again, the 412 conference, whatever, I'm definitely going to host. Let somebody stay at my house. Yeah. Other than that, just crazy thing. Another crazy thing is the church culture there. The African church culture, it is crazy. My view of tithes and offerings has changed big time. We're told that some of the pastors there actually walk around to the congregants with their hand out, like tithes and offering, whatever, like to each person, and based on the money that they get given is what blessing God is going to give them. So the guy would get the money, dependent on the amount, he'd separate them into the class of, or the groups of blessing amount, and which is totally a perversion of the gospel. It's not right. If you want to speak to an elder, they would charge you like $400 for an hour to have a consultation, which is ridiculous. It's like you're meeting with a flippin' lawyer or a psychologist or whatever. Not even psychologists get that paid that much, and it's ridiculous. So it was quite eye-opening. Just to end the video off, I'd say pray into stuff like that. Pray into the culture. Pray that that a more westernized church culture gets bred that side. Yeah, I'd say pray into the church there. There's this African culture where it's this like prosperity gospel, where the pastors end up making a fortune out of people who are literally living on millipap every day. That's literally all they have, and maybe some salt if they're lucky. And it's ridiculous. So just pray against that demonic. It's nonsense. This fake Christianity. It's not what God intended us, or it's not Christ-like living, and that's just wrong, and they need to stop it big time. So I'd say pray against that. Pray that if you can, pray that this Josh Gen Harare flourishes. Pray for accommodation, not accommodation, for a property for them, which would be super cool, so they don't have to share it with the school. Yeah, and just pray that a more westernized church culture could be sown there, with like an act style of Christianity, not with doom being sprayed in the eyes and stuff like that. Yeah, and just pray that these guys would see Neville, the leader that side, as a godly man and a good representation of Christ, and that he's not one of these fake guys who take all the money away from everyone and all of that. So yeah, anyway, I'm done. I'll be uploading a new video soon about the main topic is going to be forgiveness, and yeah, so anyway, I'll post that soon. See you guys soon. Peace out, love you lots, cheers.